Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. Welcome to Part 3 of Northern Perspective's Botler AI Evidence Declassified series.
The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of Northern Perspective and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Botler AI. The following evidence that you will see in this video was released exclusively to Northern Perspective as part of the Botler Declassified series. We ask you to follow Botler on Twitter for the latest updates. Please see the description of this video for more information.
We continue our look inside what happened with Botler AI and the Government of Canada and slowly start to unravel the web of crime, blackmail, scandals, and accusations within the Canada Border Services Agency, or CBSA. Retiga DT and Amir Morv find themselves in a precarious situation. They are without a formal contract with the CBSA for an important project to combat sexual harassment in the workplace. They have seen first-hand corruption and misconduct being practiced by both government employees and third-party contractors. They have reported this corruption to CBSA and attempted to establish a direct relationship with them instead of through two other middlemen organizations that are taking taxpayer dollars for doing no work. This relationship would simplify communication and billing, as well as lower the overall cost to CBSA and the Canadian taxpayer. This seems like a win-win and a common-sense suggestion. In reporting the long list of misconduct issues with the contractors, Antonio Utano should have also reported these issues to his superiors.
Neither action occurred. What did occur in response to Botler's suggestions and reports is an email from Diane Daly that effectively instructed Botler to be quiet, ignore the misconduct, and work with the corrupt contractors, or else. Or else being having their contract terminated and the end of all communication with the Government of Canada. So what now?
Retiga and Amir had to proceed very carefully. They had to anticipate the possible outcomes of their next move and prepare for those outcomes. The contractors and CBSA had all of the leverage here as Botler had no direct contract with anyone. They had already invested $250,000 into this project, and that was hanging over them. So what did they do?
After a whole week of strategizing, Retiga DT responded to Diane's email. Hi Diane, happy Monday. Thank you for your patience with my response. I wanted to check in with my team, then compile everything into one comprehensive correspondence. While we are aware that the agency is unable to discuss contractual terms with Botler, and I am truly sorry that these communications have to be directed to you, we are compelled to reach out to the agency when our attempts at communications with the contractors are unsuccessful. Botler has completed the first two deliverables. The project plan, TA signed June 24th, and pilot plan, metrics and strategy, TA signed September 8th, and a comprehensive interim progress report was submitted to the CBSA on September 6, 2021. Due to the size of the report, it cannot be attached by email, and you may refer to the report via this Google Drive link. On September 14th, Botler received communication from the agency that, quote, CBSA is requesting to put on hold current project activities until October 4th, end quote, as a new resource was being onboarded to the project. Botler did not receive further communication regarding this on or after October 4th. On December 1st, Botler sent a follow-up communication as we had yet to hear back following the September 14th update. Botler then heard back from HR the same day, stating that another new resource was being onboarded to the project and to expect an invite in the coming days, also referred to in my previous email. As of sending this correspondence, we still have not heard back. Please attach the full email thread titled, quote, E-2021-1201 regarding Botler AI pilot project pause activities temporarily update, end quote, for your reference. As we have yet to hear back from or meet with HR to discuss contract deliverables and timeline, as per your September 28th email, we had not yet been able to reach a solution. These delays also mean that a quarter of the timeline assigned for this project in the contract has now passed by, as activities were put on hold by the agency. During the meeting scheduled with Tony, to discuss the contract on December 15th, it is our hope that we'll be able to finalize the new ETAs proposed by Botler below at this time. Botler remains heavily invested in this project with CBSA, both in terms of the mission and importance of combating misconduct, as well as financially. To date, Botler has invested over $250,000 Canadian in the CBSA project, starting fall of 2019 at the behest of GC Strategies. Please refer to page 25 of the interim progress report submitted and linked above for the statement of revenues and expenses as of September 6, 2021. My team has also continued to work hard on and invest in activities which did not require direct input from CBSA during this period, while activities were halted in the interest of efficiency. Given that only the final quarter of the original contract remains, Botler would like to propose the following interim deliverable dates below, based on the assumption of continued work with minimal input required from the agency.
Scope for remainder of project. Application of Botler AI's proprietary risk assessment framework, or RAF, to the Canadian Border Services Agency, or CBSA. Botler's RAF is based on statistical modeling of risk approximation of violations of legislative scope, or LS, along with an enumerated risk score. The applied RAF can be used as a tool to assess severity of harassment, violence, wrongdoing, etc. complaints. The framework can be used by the CBSA to illustrate their compliance with Bill C-65 and action taken in response to the Auditor General of Canada's Fall 2019 report, particularly with regard to the risk assessment of complaints.
These dates will ensure that all the deliverables outlined in the original contract are submitted prior to the contract end date, with about 2 weeks remaining for any follow-up questions between Botler and the CBSA within the scope of the original contract. It will also provide HR with the time they need to properly onboard their resources for the next phase of the project, pilot implementation, and rollout. The halt in activities during this quarter means that we will no longer have the time to run a meaningful pilot with CBSA employees before March 31st of 2022. As the project rollout itself is not included in the original contract scope or deliverables, we can discuss implementation and rollout options with HR and other CBSA stakeholders after the completion of the original contract. The agency can then move forward accordingly for the next phase. Kindly advise if this new proposal works for the CBSA so that we can come to a mutual resolution and proceed accordingly. We are happy to continue with the current contractors for the final quarter of this contract and limit communications to invoicing only if they are able to guarantee payment timelines in accordance with their respective agreement with the Government of Canada, which I believe is 30 days based on your previous correspondence. They decided to frame their response in the following manner. First, they wanted to outline the perception of an agreement they had reached with Mr. Utano and the Human Resources Department of the CBSA, where they were going to enter into a direct contract. The intent was to illustrate that these efforts were already and have been underway for months to achieve this. Second, they needed to clarify the deliverables and timelines so that it was clear to both Botler and CBSA.
Third, they reiterated the scope that was outlined on the task authorization, despite the fact that the scope was more of a formality and the actual work that was going on was for a full pilot. From emails from Diane, the original March 31st, 2022 delivery date of the contract was going to be a sticking point. So, based on these outlined deliverables, they outlined their commitment to meet the timetables based on their revised project plan and the amount of investment that Botler had made financially into the project. And fourth, after previous communication from Diane outlining payment issues with GC Strategies, they continued to see issues of late payment which needed to be addressed.
Repeated late payment by GC Strategies. Following your email correspondence on September 28th, GC Strategies did not respect point 1 and again made a late payment for the second milestone. The email thread titled, quote, E-2021-0928-FW payment of items to Botler, end quote, is attached for your reference. The TA for the second milestone was signed by the CBSA on September 9th after delivery by Botler on September 6th. Accordingly, the invoice, quote, I-2021-0915-GCS004, end quote, attached, was issued on September 15th with a due date of October 15th. Payment was only received on October 26th, as shown in the attached business account statement, quote, BAS Oct 1 to November 1st, 2021, end quote, 50 days after milestone delivery.
But didn't Christian Firth state that there was never a late payment to Botler?
The Botler pilot was delivery based, so Botler would only get paid when they delivered. They delivered the first 2 deliverables and then were paid everything they were owed. At no time did GC Strategies ever receive money for those deliverables that we did not immediately pass on to Botler.
Yeah, it sounds like Christian Firth is trying to say that there was never an issue with late payment. But if that was the case, why would Retiga DT have to send that original email back in September? Why would Diane Daly have to send a scathing email to Dalian and GC Strategies? And why would Retiga have to follow up yet again? The answer is that she wouldn't, and therefore we can just add that to the other lies that Christian Firth told in committee.
The last item that needed to be addressed was the additional problems that Botler was experiencing with both Dalian and GC Strategies.
Ongoing issues with Dalian in JV with Coradix and GC Strategies. From the outset of our involvement with GC Strategies, when they approached us in fall 2019 on behalf of the CBSA, we have repeatedly been informed by Christian Firth that we will require security-cleared resources for the work with CBSA, particularly for project management and development. GC Strategies also repeatedly confirmed that they would be responsible for sourcing and providing security-cleared resources to Botler, specifically for this project, which they have failed to do. To date, one of the only 2 resources provided was a project manager, Patrick Van Abema, who was added to the contract with Coradix without our knowledge or consent. As CBSA project team members can attest to from their own experience, this individual provided no value to the project, yet was paid thousands by Botler, as we were under the impression that the resource was requested by the CBSA. Mr. Van Abema also disclosed that he is currently under pending legal action in a multi-million-dollar malpractice lawsuit against him by former clients. We are no longer working with said resource. As a result, we were forced to recruit resources from these roles from LinkedIn, then attempted to get them security cleared via Coradix. The first resource was cleared without issue in June. The second resource faced several issues due to oversight and basis errors on Coradix's side over a 2-month period, and eventually had to be terminated by Botler due to lack of security clearance. This wasted a significant amount of time and monetary resources, which were dedicated to the recruitment, onboarding, and training of said individual.
The third resource identified by Botler for clearance is a lawyer specialized in HR, who is also a project manager, previously received their reliability status from GAC. She is an important resource for Botler's project with the agency. Botler reached out to Coradix security liaison Redacted, as we had always previously been advised, for assistance with duplicating her clearance and applying for her secret level 2 clearance, as GC Strategies had previously advised over the years. The email thread, quote, E-2021 1025-GOC-security-screening-redacted is attached for your reference. Redacted then replied on October 26, stating that, quote, such requests be addressed to ... GC Strategies, end quote, to which Botler obliged and followed up immediately with GC Strategies. Neither party has deigned to follow up or proceed with the clearance request since. This is a clear act of retaliation by both parties following Botler sharing their non-payment and lack of accountability with CBSA on September 27th. All communications from Coradix prior to this incident stated that security was to be handled by them, and all requests were to be submitted to Coradix directly to handle accordingly. In line with these instructions, Coradix also cleared the first resource, and Redacted even followed up regarding the second resource's clearance on November 15th directly with Botler, contradicting Redacted's October 26th arbitrary change of Coradix's original agreement and understanding with Botler. Moving forward, could you kindly advise whether the new project manager assigned by Botler to the project does, in fact, need to be security cleared? To clarify, the new PM will never be on site, but will work on deliverables. Again, I sincerely apologize that this communication needs to be directed to you. I sincerely hope that we will be able to clarify and finalize the remainder of this project by the end of this year so that we can return our full focus to our mandate with the agency and delivery in Q1 of 2022. Thank you again for your time and help with everything. It is very much appreciated. Cheers, Retiga DT.
These allegations are incredibly disturbing. First, GC Strategies was supposed to source and provide security clearance for IT personnel to Botler for the project, which they didn't do. The only thing they did do was provide a project manager named Patrick Van Abema that nobody asked for. Nobody, that is, that was directly involved with the project. When the task authorization was created by the CBSA for the Botler project, presumably by Cameron McDonald, Botler and GC Strategies were named on it, which is strange because it was directed to Dalian and Koradix. Why would the government direct a task authorization to a staffing firm that they had no intention of actually doing the work? It's a shortcut, you see. Because CBSA already had an existing general services contract with Dalian, they could create a task authorization for anything they wanted without having to navigate the complex and horrendously long government process of a request for proposal competitive bid. This is the part that should disturb Canadians because every single person involved in this process, including those at PSPC, all knew that 30% of that contract was going to be wasted on commission being taken by Dalian and Koradix before they passed it on to GC Strategies and Botler. These government employees, executives, and officials all knew that money is going to be wasted before any work gets done as a result of this corrupt process.
What this also means is someone wanted Patrick Van Abema named as a project manager on the task authorization. Was this Cameron McDonald? And why would he want Patrick named? GC Strategies signed him and cleared him, but according to Botler, who paid him, he provided no value to the project at all and was later dismissed because of a massive lawsuit that he was involved in. By the way, it was also the responsibility of GC Strategies to know that as part of their quote-unquote screening process. And how do we know that he was named on the task authorization? Don't take our word for it. Just ask Colin Wood, president of Koradix.
Can you tell me who Patrick Van Abema is and what his relationship with you is?
Botler was paid for both of those deliverables, by the way. Patrick Van Abema was also included on the task authorization for the Botler AI project.
Lastly, after Botler had reported the misconduct about the contractors, they were effectively ghosted by both of them. They received no more resources and no more payments, which Retiga outlined in her email. All of this paints a very unflattering picture of both GC Strategies and Dalian Koradix. Retiga concludes by optimistically hoping that with this well-thought-out email and strategy, they could move forward with solid justification of signing a new contract directly with CBSA. Diane Daly wastes no time in replying to Retiga the very next day. Good morning, Retiga. As noted earlier, all information for the contract which is held with Dalian in joint venture with Koradix must be addressed only with them. I have noted internally we will be contacting the supplier directly to advise them that we will be cancelling this contract as it is no longer required. Thank you. Dalian in joint venture with Koradix should be in touch shortly. Have a nice day. Now please note, this is a direct reply. We have not censored any data or emails. This is it. After that long email from Retiga outlining their suggested approach and additional allegations against the contractors, the government turned around and terminated their contract. This email stinks for corruption, as none of the allegations were addressed, and again, Mr. Utano raised none of these above him as he is supposed to do per government policy. Diane even ends this with a snarky, quote, "have a nice day," end quote, which can only be taken as a vindictive statement after you inform two people that just told you they invested $250,000 into this project that their contract is cancelled. What did this mean? Would Retiga and Amir just fade away into silence, effectively smothered by government bureaucracy? Hardly. What Retiga and Amir decided next would change the course of this government's fortunes and begin to expose the rot within. You see, the government thought they had Botler silenced and sedated, but there is a very important detail that they forgot, and it is a major chink in their armor with this corrupt process. Nobody had forced Botler to sign a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA. Non-disclosure agreements prevent people and organizations from revealing details about projects to anyone except those that are cleared by the original deciding party. So what did this mean for Botler? It meant that they could say whatever they wanted to whoever they wanted and share whatever they wanted whenever they wanted. In short, it was time to get to work.